So again, if you're state sponsored and you want to keep the war going in Ukraine on college campuses, if you remember, the Vietnam War was stopped because of college campus protesting and so forth. So if you want to keep the Ukraine war going, okay, which is the big objective here, and this is what Charlie, right, said we shouldn't keep going and cut the funding. First of all, you got to kill him, all right, which they did, right? But if you want to keep it going, you have to have a team structure on every college campus, on every university campus, large universities. And you have to have a team ready to kill who's the next Charlie Kirk, right? It's not good enough just to kill Charlie Kirk, right, in Provo. You have to have an organization where you have a all queers type team, John Brown Gun Club, or an Antifa, whatever you want to call it, on every college campus. So if somebody bubbles up as the new Charlie Kirk, then you can kill him to keep the war going. And instead of keeping the war going for another year, you could keep the war going another 20 years like the Vietnam War. You could keep it going another 20 years like Ukraine, like Iraq. You could keep it going another 20 years like Afghanistan. And this anticipatory intelligence group has been put in for exactly that reason. They're the ones managing all these teams. And the reason why it's instructive to look at Tyler here and look at Ukraine, for whom the bell tolls, right? For whom Ukraine tolls. And there's this bell on the top of Champ Tower where I was yesterday that rings. It's the perfect chime of the bells, for whom Ukraine tolls. We just killed another student leader. The bell tolls every time they kill a student leader with one of their Antifa teams or trans teams or trans-Tifa teams that they have at different universities, right? The bell just rings there. It's the perfect symbology here. But if you're not familiar with it, For Whom the Bell Tolls is a novel by Hemingway. It's about a team. It's about a team of people that are all, bandoleros and riflemen and so forth that are protecting the smart guy. The smart guy is the one who understands engineering. He understands bridges. He understands where to place the dynamite on the bridge so that you have a pancaking collapse, sort of like the WTC-7, art students. He knows where to put the squibs in order to drop bridges. And the whole existence of the team is to make sure this guy gets from bridge to bridge without getting killed. Right? It's to make sure while he's wiring the bridge, the Tyler Robinson, that nobody is coming on one side of the bridge or the other, and nobody's coming up the road on either side, that he has unobstructed time. You create diversions, you create explosions, anything you need to make sure this guy has time on the bridge. And if you look at his background and why he went to Utah State to begin with, he's one of the top engineering students in the country, right? He's got a full ride scholarship to Utah State. He's in this program. Right? He's in this program, and this program is the first in a national laboratory. It is the first pre-crime Palantir laboratory in the country. That's why we're here, right? We're not going to Provo anymore. We're not in the amphitheater because that doesn't make any sense to be in the amphitheater anymore. That's just one of the arenas in the league. We're going to the league headquarters now and saying this is where anticipatory intelligence, or false flagging, whatever you want to call it, is at. We go to the headquarters, and we were there yesterday, and we show it to you, right? And the reason it's put in is to keep Ukraine, and make Ukraine from a 3-year war into a 20-year war. And you can do it if you have teams on each college campus, and every time Charlie Kirk comes, you kill him, right? It's just that simple. Or you disrupt them, or you create an explosion, or you do something to disrupt, and basically you win. Now, this goes all the way back to Angleton, with Antifa after the World War II with the CIA. So this is as old as the CIA. It's a counterforce against the team that you don't want to win. Okay, it's just that simple. And instead of counting ballots, they use bullets. It's just that simple. So we'll go through the For Who Ukraine Tolls. And again, Champ Hall has these bells where the headquarters is. Their office is right next to Jennifer Johnson's office. Johnson's office couldn't be closer to the president and the provost. I mean, they've taken over the whole campus. They just built a brand new building for teaching people languages. It's just like CIA University now. I mean, it's named CAI. Jennifer Johnson or Jensen, is Johnson, was CIA. And they're making no bones about it. This is a CIA organization. There's just no question about it. And the objective here is, through the use of these teams and through the use of tolling the bell, through the use of every once in a while killing a Charlie Kirk, you can make Ukraine into a 20-year war. It's all encapsulated here, right? Here's our small team that we have on university college campuses. And it looks like they've got an upswell against the charismatic leader against Ukraine. We just toll that bell. We crack that another one cracks, we crack that bell, right? And now we move on to the next one, right? And that's the Charlie Kirk story. And the symbology here is Charlie Kirk being the bell that was saying, hey, we need to get out of Ukraine. No, CAE, Ukraine bell is going to toll for Charlie Kirk. And it does. It does on the hour. There you see me right there yesterday. I'm holding in my hand a very prophetic escape and evade ROTC exercise that was held 2 days after Charlie Kirk's murder. Everyone said that there's no ROTC on Utah State's campus. Oh, I'm just happened to hold, and they're all dressed in camo, and there's like 12 pictures. I put it out on my Substack. There's 12 pictures of escape and evade. And I'm like, they could have used escape and evade, just 2 days ago. They're doing escape and evade training here at Utah State. Interesting. So the Intermountain Intelligence Security Consortium is the connection between Utah State and Provo with Utah Valley and also Utah Tech and down in St. George and so forth. And it's the National Security Center, the Center for the National Security Studies, the CIA, right, has put this together as the model to roll out across the country. So right now, in this Association of Intermountain Intelligence, this thing is just being rolled out right now, with the Charlie Kirk murder being the first, kind of celebratory, event of this. And it's a consortium between Utah State and UVU there, and it's called Intermountain. It's also going to pick up Utah Tech. That's coming in St. George as well. But you can see the companies that are and again, this is for the benefit of Pete Hegseth. This is for the benefit of Kash Patel, right? So that you know what's going on in your own organization and you know where to hit the machine, right? NSA, State Department, Secret Service, DOD, FBI, DHS, CIA, and a few partners: Adobe, Agile, FireEye, Fordham Technologies, Northrop Grumman, Space Dynamics, Strider Technologies. So they have these summer internships in Washington, D.C. and so forth. Now, the money that has been brought here to this university and this campus has created a whole new campus called the Innovation Campus. Yesterday I was at the bioweapons part, where they're doing all the animal testing, the anthrax animal testing and so forth. Not just that. And I can't remember if it was Craig Day is the guy who's running it. But anyway, he works with Heinz Feldman. That the lab up in the Rocky Mountain lab up in Hamilton, Montana, also the Winnipeg lab that took all of the coronavirus and took all the Ebola to Wuhan laboratories. This is all in that consortium. And again, Space Dynamics is a huge part of this, because I need drones. If I'm going to really control an area, if an area gets out of control in the United States, drone, and then some kind of thing to, poppies will make them sleep, some kind of thing that I can dust an area with to control that area in case of insurrection, right? So Space Dynamics is a huge new investment in here on the campus in Logan. This is a big, huge national security initiative. And again, John Ratcliffe, you should come forward and start working with Kash Patel on this, because this is all CIA driven. Johnny Ratcliffe, talk about this with Kash Patel so he understands this. Here is all the tech partnerships here. You can see it's basically Lockheed Martin again. Again, we have Lockheed Martin. Again, we have Raytheon. Again, all the people that you would think would be a part of the deep state are part of this partnership that's happening with UVU. So it is for whom the bell tolls. It is teams. It is teams to take out dissenting voices for the Ukraine war. We just saw the first one. We think it's somehow a lone gunman. It's not. It's a team, just like If you go to Saving Private Ryan, well, they didn't send one guy to save Private Ryan. They sent a team to save Private Ryan, right? One guy is the intelligence officer, the Tom Hanks guy. He's also got to get this guy and bring him back, right? But he's got a bunch of other guys on the team to get him there, right? So that's part of the operation here. They send a team to get the job done, for whom the bell tolls, right? And again, the object here for Ukraine isn't just having guns and kafifas, right? The object here is to crack the bell. If they ever have someone who's singing out against the Ukraine war, well, that's the bell that we got to go crack, right? We have to toll that bell. And that's the way it takes. This recruiting poster right here, the next step, why are they going to need this thing to put down dissent? Well, I lived through the Vietnam War, and the Vietnam War protests. My oldest brother was very much a part of the anti-war movement, FBI chasing him and everything. As soon as you draft, as soon as you institute the draft and you start sending U.S. soldiers there, you're going to have all kinds of protests on the campus. And this is where you have to have the team take out the bell, right? You have to have the team take out the leaders. They're not going to do it like they did with Vietnam last time. They're going to anticipate these protests and they're going to take that person out. Now, first it'll be done in sort of like Vietnam, is with what they call advisors, like Tyler Robinson, explosives demolition advisors, right? Machine gun and grenade and all this stuff, advisors to show people how to use the weapons. So advisors are already there in Ukraine, but now that whole thing is changing with this murder of Charlie Kirk. Now Trump is turning forward, hey, let's start sending the advisors to Ukraine. This is the same sort of thing that happened with John F. Kennedy, only John F. Kennedy didn't change his mind, right? And then they killed John F. Kennedy. So you may remember Dag Hammarskjöld getting murdered, a couple of other people, Lumumba and other, Patrice Lumumba getting killed. But there was some assassinations leading up to. They killed Connolly's wife. Robert Allen Hale killed Kennedy's wife in 1962. They killed Korth's Secretary of the Navy, Korth's daughter, if you may remember, as a warning shot. That didn't stop them. So then they ended up killing Kennedy. So what Trump is doing is turning now and saying, oh, maybe we should send these General Dynamics advisors to Ukraine. And that's how you get your foot in the door. And then once you get the foot in their door, the CIA is very good at then getting boots on the ground. As soon as you start putting boots on the ground, as soon as you start drafting people to send them to Ukraine, you're going to have protests on college campuses. And this group is anticipating that, right? And they're putting teams in place under the protection of queer, right? Under the social justice warrior cloak of protection. And as soon as you have those voices emerge, you're going to have those people get sick. You're going to have those protests be interrupted. If they get too big, they're going to get killed, like Charlie Kirk. This poster, by the way, was taken off the streets in Berlin. This is the English translation yesterday. So they're recruiting mercenaries today, right, with special visas, just like from whom the bell tolls in the Spanish-American War with the special visas from the State Department. You got the same thing going on here, right? The same thing going on here. This recruiting poster with the QR code was ripped off a poster in Berlin yesterday, right? Now there's already been the Azov group has already conducted 9 murders in Germany of people opposed to this. They've already conducted 9 murders. Charlie Kirk's just our first murder, but in Germany we've had 9 of these murders. Frau Hodel provided this great research. Frau Hodel. Here's the original in German, right? Here's the original in German, and they're bringing up all the iconography from the old World War II and then replaying that. This is on the streets and on the lampposts in Berlin as we speak. No question about who this is and why they're covering it up and why they're disconnecting Tyler Robinson from Ermaya. They don't want people to know about these teams. They don't want people to know about this anticipatory intelligence center. They don't want to know that there's these kill teams on all these college campuses. They don't want anybody to know that. They want you to think it's twigs, right? They want you to think it's twigs. Okay. So it is what it is. Tyler is the head of a team Of course, he knows where the team is. Of course, he's in Provo that day. Of course, he's by the airport. Of course, he's by the place where you have a van and you can drop people off. Of course, he's the one who has to orchestrate all this. This is sort of like the coach of the team, right? The coach of the team makes sure that, puts in the starting lineups and tells when the timeouts are going to be, etc. You have to have a coach of the team. Of course, Tyler knows where the team is. Again, Cash, I'm trying to help you. This is where you center in on those Discord messages. This is going to solve the case for you, right? And this is going to keep the Ryan Meadows from undermining you and so forth and putting in their James Comey look-alike, all right? So I hammer the iconography home here, but in order to keep that Ukraine flag flying, in order to keep it in weapons, you're going to have to crack a few bells. That's the thing that's the line we're going over here that we didn't go over. We did go over that line once with Kent State. Now they're saying, hey, every day is a Kent State, right? With this anticipatory intelligence, we're going to anticipate who are going to be the leaders, and we're going to take them out with one of these teams. We're going to say it's social justice. We're going to say that they somehow offended they agitated this team, they offended this team, so the team had to take them out, right? And anytime the person mentions anything about the Bible or the big guy or Jesus that offends the team, they take them out. It's pure, plain and simple. Okay. Or on any other topic. If they even mention Trump, that offends them, they can take them out. Again, this is the team that did the Charlie Kirk murder. If you lose the concept of team, you lose the fox in the hunt. Right? You start chasing the rabbits. If you follow the fox, you're going to get the fox. If you follow the rabbits, you're going to get the rabbits. This is the team that did the Charlie Kirk murder, or Myra and Mujahideen Charlie. We've painted the picture of all these people, of who they are. That's going to be the team you need to go after. We said it's Machine Gun Charlie. We said it's Mujahideen Charlie. We said it's all the other people training. This is the first team. It isn't the only one. So people think, oh, this is just a little band of folks. No, it's a national system. Again, Cash Patel, you need to sit down with Johnny Radcliffe and work this out, because this is what is happening. You need to explain this to the president. This is what is happening. It's happening right here in Logan. If you don't believe me, watch my video yesterday. I didn't make it up. Those are the bells. Some other posters talk about Maya and this dignity index. The Trevor Cox, the governor, is all behind trans. He's got all these. He wants the trans athletes to be able, these guys, to go over because they can't cut it. In men's college basketball, he wants them to go over and beat up on the girls. Right. Same thing with all the other sports. Right. That's the same thing as this dignity index. He's running this dignity index, and this is basically when we're allowed to kill you. When you get high enough on the dignity index as a speaker, right, and you start, this is our level of insult, and our insult level gets to 7, we're allowed to kill you. Maybe they'll move the dignity index down to 6, and now we'll start doing the killings at 6. Maybe the dignity index will go up to 8. Well, we won't kill people till our insult level is till 8. But the dignity index that's being pushed is not being pushed by anybody else other than Ermaya Fanayan. Same person who runs All Queers. Again, it's the first team, right? It's the Hinckley Institute of Politics. She is the index coder. She is the one who says how insulted they are, right? Somebody else is going to go cover out the thing. This is the United Nations. They do get money from the United Nations. It is a United Nations sustainable goal, which is dignity, right? It is SDG 16. It is SDG 16. Who won the award, the 7 for 17 global diplomacy? All Queers. Ermaya Fanayan, right? Here are all the people, the glad handers on the various, this is state level politics now, pushing this. Here are all the glad handers. There's many glad handers. I can't go through all the glad handers. But the point here that SK Double Dub is making, the point that she's making is that these statewide programs are going to be put into every state, right? There's going to be a dignity index for every state. And then that dignity index will determine who the bell will toll for, who will be killed, who are the voices on these college campuses, especially when the draft goes in. who will be killed. Okay. And you can see Trump turning toward this, the advisors anyway. They're going to start doing recruiting on the college campuses for volunteers like they are in Germany. This is going to happen in the United States, right? As soon as they put it in Germany, they had voices. They killed them all. There was 9 murders that they did. They're testing the waters in the United States, and Charlie was turning the other way. They killed him. Okay. That's what's going to happen here. That's the pattern. The dignity index and hopeful voices rise is the other, you're going to get a lot of this social justice wrapping around all these things, so that if you oppose it, you're somehow hate speech or whatever. So to take away your, and all of this is criticizing Charlie Kirk's hateful style. So he had it coming, is the message coming from these groups is he had it coming, right? To justify the murders, he had it coming. Okay. So now getting back to cash, but I just wanted to get through the Substack, so you could see the Substack, and getting back to cash, which we will. Now, I'm not saying Cash is the only guy who can do it, but if we're going to just replace Cash with a Comey, that's not right. That's not the right way to go. And now Cash is into it. There's been a lot of messages that have gone by, it looks like, since I'm trying to go back to where I left off, and it looks like quite a few messages have gone under the bridge. So, excuse me, when I'm on the road, all kinds of weird trolls yesterday, saying all kinds of weird things. But then I show up and I'm at the bell tolling for the next campus leader against the war, right? And what did I create? A whole, they said I created a whole Utah State campus virtual world, like I was Dr. Sun Shong and I had Nance Studios with 30-foot high LCD walls. No, I didn't actually do that. They say I fashioned the bell. I had time to, cast and fashion the bell and make the bell toll like that to meet my, Hemingway illusion. No, that really does exist on the campus here at Utah State. I really am in Logan. So there you go. We'll do some splish and splash here. Splish splash. I was taking a bath, and there you go. I'll have to just kind of, I don't know how far back to go. I don't believe the FBI. Well, let's start with that. I don't believe the FBI bullshit. Again, remember the FBI organization, right? The FBI organization is what, 20,000 agents, something like that, 25,000. It rolls up. You have to believe what your agents tell you unless you're out in the field. If Cash was here, and if Cash, come to Utah, come to Provo, you could even set up in the amphitheater if you want for theatrics, because everyone seems so fixated. Everyone's fixated. I'll get off Mujahideen Charlie here, but this is the person I think killed killed Charlie Kirk. But everyone's fixated on the amphitheater. Go ahead and set up in the amphitheater. That way, everyone in their fixation, go ahead and stand in the exact same spot Charlie Kirk did, right? Everyone's fixated on the amphitheater, right? Go to the amphitheater. Have all your FBI agents under a tent in the amphitheater, right? If everyone's going to focus on the amphitheater and they can't get their head out of the amphitheater, then go to the amphitheater. That's where everyone needs to concentrate. But the thing is, really great leadership, and NVIDIA is probably the best example of this. If you rely on 5 or 6 handoffs from your agents out in the field, and then they're going to send you the information through their channels, by the time it gets to you, it has no relation to the truth, right? If you're relying on your field people to roll the information up to you, you're screwed. You have to be right there in the amphitheater, right, with your agents coming directly and telling you all this, and squeeze down and pancake down the number of layers. If you look at Jensen running NVIDIA, it's 1 layer deep. He has like 2,000 direct reports. And the reason is he has these massive meetings where everyone's in the same meeting. And so everyone knows what everyone else is doing. And I realize it's not the most efficient way if you're trying to but they're doing pretty good. It's the most valuable company in the country, right? So this is what I'm saying is have 150 agents, just like Mississippi Burning. If this is Mississippi Burning was about 3 people that were unknowns for civil rights. This is the country. What we're talking about is the U.S. Constitution, and they're cracking the bell of the top person who's the largest voice on U.S. college campuses. That's a big deal. That's a political murder, right? Those other 3, who knows, right? But they had 150 agents for 45 days, right? That's what Cash needs to do. And so when you say I don't believe the FBI bullshit, I understand that the people that are running drugs in Utah with ATF and FBI, Cash just fired her, Syed, right? I understand that they're making a tremendous amount of money and they're all going to retire rich on the drug business coming in and out of these schools, out of these campuses, and also through the multi-level marketing, these unique multi-level marketing organizations that own so many planes and fly to so many Navajo Indian reservations, right? I'm not saying that, but they're not going to give you good intelligence. They're not going to give the intelligence needed to convict the team, right? So what's going to end up happening is you're going to look dumb because they're going to keep feeding you shit, right? And you're going to only be able to espouse this shit. You're not going to be on the ground like I am, right? And see the lay of the land and see it for what it is. It's CAI, it's CIA, right? If you come here and you spend enough time here, right, and you look beyond the breadcrumbs and the house of cards that they're building for you, only to collapse them in a little bit. Candace just went through this yesterday, where they collapse her house of cards, and then what happens? What's the immediate reaction when somebody collapses your house of cards? Lash out at the FBI, lash out. And so they lash out at Cash Patel, and that's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to lash out at Cash Patel, right? Now, Dan Bongino, he can go back to podcasting anytime. But Cash Patel, he's the one guy that I know from DC that has a good heart and does want to solve this problem. And that is, to me, I'll take that over any Washington longtime career FBI person. Now, if you want to bring in Robin Gritz, who, basically uncorked WTC 93, stopped the first WTC trade bombing, and then figured out 9/11 not long after. If you want to bring in Robin Gritz and replace Cash Patel, longtime career anti-terrorist person, she'll make mincemeat of this situation. But I've given up asking about Robin Gritz or bringing in Jeff Prather. I've given up. I've said it enough times that it's not going to happen. I have better alternatives than Cash Patel too. I have Robin Gritz, and I've been talking about Robin Gritz for 8 years, right? I've been talking about Jeff Prather for 6 years. He knows the whole story with ATF. He knows how the ATF's running the drugs in all these states, but especially Utah. He knows the story. I don't want to get Jeff killed, but that's what I'm saying is I have alternatives too. So it's not like I'm pushing Cash Patel. It was my choice. Cash Patel wasn't my choice. Robin Gritz was my choice. Okay. But I'm saying if you want to solve this murder and you want to stop anticipatory crime, right? And you want to stop this anticipatory for whom the bell tolls system of taking out voices on American campuses. If you want to stop it, right, you got to go with, you got to dance with who you brung to the dance, right? You can't start going, I think I'm going to go with this one over here. No, you got to go with who's in power, who can get the job done. And there's certain things that we can't get done as citizen journalists that we need subpoena power for, evidence collection, wiretaps, all these things. Running down leads and having the power to follow up and run down the leads is expensive. So we can only go so far on the shoestring here. I'm $8 a month from paid Substack only goes so far, and my personal savings only goes so far. I need Cash Patel and I need his resources, and we need his resources, and that's why Cash Patel. Now, did they try to get Cash Patel, to eat all these steaks and so forth, and then film him eating the steaks and lobster? And now Ryan Maida has his dinner menu and what Cash Patel ate at this New York restaurant, the day Charlie was murdered. They're going to do what Cash Patel is going for all the trappings, being a falling into all the comforts of power, right? That's the attack that they're going to do on him. We've got a murder to solve right here. We don't have the luxury of being able to go, oh, hey, let's get rid of the guy who can help solve the murder. And now I'll wait for Trump to rename somebody in 30 days. And that means Bongino will be the acting director. Oh my God. Right. And then I got to go through Senate hearings. And then we come back to Utah. Right. That's too late. That's 60 days that I lose. Right. That's 60 days that we lose. And I don't want to lose 60 days. I want to keep Kash Patel. Dan Bongino, you can go back to podcasting anytime you want. They've already put in a new deputy, a shadow deputy with Dan Bongino, right? They want to put that person in as the new director. And that's another Comey. That's another deep state Comey. And that's what I'm against. So I'm going to just go from here. I'm sorry if I missed your, it's difficult. It's difficult to be able to come back out, and jump back and know exactly where. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support. Trans-Tisva, funded by Soros. Couldn't agree more. We've been all over Yugoslavia and looked at all the NATO wars. How Soros did it in every one of the NATO countries in Yugoslavia. We have one of the best citizen journalism groups in Eastern Europe that's run by Simon Melania's Warriors. In Slovenia, he basically took me to every one of the countries and explained everything. I had to go to Bosnia myself, Herzegovina, Vojvodina, Kosovo, all these places, right? We got a chance to go to, including Romania and all these other places that I hadn't had a chance to go to in a while. So that was a very helpful trip. Kirk's assassination has nothing to do with Ukraine. Well, you haven't been listening. You haven't been listening, right? You get an F. You get the slip and slide. You get an F. You can't have listened to this and not know and not have picked anything up. It has everything to do with Ukraine. The only thing it has to do with is Ukraine. It's 100%, right? And you can't explain your theory. You should just say, I want to ride the slip and slide. All caps from now on. I don't have time. So all caps, just slip and slide, right? All caps just gets a slip and slide. And Venmo. Yeah, go ahead and Venmo me. There's my Venmo. And again, obtuse comments, so forth, slip and slide. It's just you're trying to advertise the Dundee slip and slide. So there it goes. I like, this is strong criticism, but I like the strong criticism because I can explain, I believe, Bibi's point of view, which is we are doing, we're a good partner with the United States. If there really was a whole bunch of Hezbollah and Hamas and all these terrorist organizations running the Middle East and running the oil, you might not think that that's a big deal right now, but come a few more months from now and you're living in Minnesota, you may think heating oil is a big deal. Now, I know that everybody says that America can take care of its own needs and so forth, but it could strangle Europe. Oil is important. 3 Days of the Condor with Robert Redford. Cliff, I can't remember Cliff, the actor, but he says, don't ask him now, ask him when they're freezing, if they want the oil, right? So I think Bibi is going to roll up to Gaza. We said it in Braverman Prophecy. I wrote a 20-part series on it. It's all coming true. I agree. That's all happening. To me, that's like New Jersey to Americans. We got this Hezbollah group forming in New Jersey, right? And here's New York, our financial capital. That's how close things are, right? Israel's the size of New Jersey. So it's like, the Jersey Shore, right, has now been taken over by this group that wants to kill Americans. That's how they've used the Gaza, right? The Gaza is a heartbeat away from, Tel Aviv, right? Haifa. That's their high tech. That's their MIT, their Harvard. Okay, that's how they look at Gaza. The folks that are looking at Ukraine, right, are a whole different breed of cat. They're super Zionists who want to take the Black Sea to the Baltic because Catherine the Great said that it was theirs. And now we're going to have World War III on the benefit of them. And now we're going to be drafting people, right? Now we're going to be drafting people and sending them over for this dream, this super Zionist dream. That's not my dream. So I'm trying to put a point of differentiation in there. I know everybody wants to throw Bibi out with the bathwater, right? They want to throw Bibi in with the Ukraine thing. Bibi is the Gaza thing, right? And that's a long history. And I can talk to you sometime when we have the time over the long history of Gaza. But that is not the same World War III triggering event as this recapitulation and reconstruction of the old Pale. These super Zionists that want to do that. And those are two different things. Those are two different things. Multifaceted hit profile. Lots of teams benefit, including Trump. Definitely is real. Well, I understand what being shot is. I've been shot at a lot more than most people. So I've never been hit, but I'm not discounting being shot. I'm not. I do think there is a game of rabbit hole fatigue, and that again, it's like the battlefield, right? They're going to have some plants have one white rabbit, some have two, some have three. You got to keep your eye on the fox. And I've said this before, you only have so much energy. If you spend it chasing the white rabbits, you won't have energy for the fox. That's why I don't chase white rabbits. That's why I go for the fox, right? That's why I wake up every day bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to go after the fox, because I don't chase the white rabbits. We tell you who the white rabbits are. People chase them anyway. Look, we're still in the amphitheater. People are still arguing in the amphitheater. People are still saying, the drone shot him. The drone shot him. This is still being, if you don't believe me, just look at Twitter, right? We're still arguing about, we're all in violent agreement that there's a team. We're all in violent agreement that there's a team. Everyone wants to say it's not just a lone gunman, it's just a little team. It's not a little team. This is state-sponsored teams, okay? Right? So you will be exhausted if you follow all the white rabbits. And if you go down a rabbit hole, you'll be exhausted. If you follow the fox and you follow the foxhole, you'll not be tired. You'll wake up refreshed and you'll think the world's a great and wonderful place. Don't follow the white rabbits, right? When you make the determination there's a team, save your energy and move on. Don't start getting into these fights over, well, it was an explosive microphone and all these different things. When you see the bullet coming out, stretching the skin, and you see the angle, you're kind of done. You know it's a team at that point. You know Tyler didn't fire the shot. You're done. You don't need to stay in the arena and mud wrestle everyone over what this means. This is a bullet coming out. This is a bullet coming out of his throat. If you want the angle, you can just look at Ryan Ruth and how he stabbed himself. It's going to be that way, right? Compartmentalization breeds corruption. I couldn't agree more. This isn't about the jab. So if you're going to talk about the jab, we'll give you the Dundee slip and slide. We talked about this. We went to the biolab yesterday. We talked about Uncle Mikey being the anthrax expert, the person giving the kits. Uncle Mikey Robinson, the one who gets Tyler involved in the 8-year ROTC program. 8-year ROTC, that sounds like intelligence to me. Sounds like he's going around with the various forms of the military and being the intelligence operative in various forms of the military, right? The classroom is Ukraine, right? Greatest show on earth. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Outstanding. Thank you. Biggest risk is the Iran gambit. We've been following Ardestani and Farahani ever since they stepped foot in the country with Venezuela passports. Who knows that? Does Cash know that? Arcane comments that don't connect get the slip and slide, Dundee slip and slide. And I'm not talking about this comment. I'm just giving folks the slip and slide. Brother-in-law Deluve used to be head of technology department at Utah State. We'll ask him if they know where the you know, the hill road is. It's quite a hike. I was breathing heavy when I got to the top of that old hill road. Um, yeah. Weeks from now, we'll probably still have people talking about stuff that happened in the amphitheater. Weeks from now. YouTube is running. Kirk wasn't inhibiting anything real. No, actually, that's exactly incorrect. He was against the Ukraine war. Yeah. So, slip and slide. I did give him the slip and slide. And I expect, having been there yesterday, I expect the Utah State team will be out here today to try to knock this down. Take out the critical thinkers. This is a great comment. Just take out the critical thinkers. Now I want waffles. Did I say pancakes? I'm sorry if I said pancakes. I said when you collapse a building or whatever, you want it to pancake. So I apologize. Oh, I'm way behind here. So I'll just give up. I'll come back later. I'll look at all the comments. I'm so far behind on comments. Even though I try to put them up as fast as I can, I'll try to get your comments. We'll come back and do a later show. It's early here. We got some footwork to do in Logan here. But if you want to find out who's running the league and the league office and the people who assess the fines and the people who set up the schedule and the people who do the draft, those are the people that are running the league. And those teams are part of the league. So you got to go to the league headquarters, right? If you want to get to all the teams, right? If you want everything and cash, just come to Utah. I'll work with you every day, brother. We'll have all the citizen journalists working with a liaison every day if you want to come. It's the only way you can save your job. It's the only way you can save your job. We'll leave it right there. MIC, see you real soon. KEY, why? Because gosh darn it, we like you. MOUSE, not those Rockefeller mice that you can't kill with Dr. Mary's monkey linear accelerator. You can't kill them. You're trying to kill them. You can't kill them. Any Rockefeller drug that needs to get approved, just get me those mice. Nothing can kill them. We'll leave it right there. Thanks very much for joining.